Hey, good morning. I'm Jeremy. Why don't you come along and join me on my journey today? So, overnight, the Velcro has let go of this plywood once again. Same on the ceiling and on the other wall. The other wall is actually doing pretty good. There's just one little spot where it's let go, right at the joint where I put all the extra curve cuts. Is actually staying in there really well. But what I'm going to do is use my my crown stapler, 1/4 inch crown stapler, and just put staples in on the wood strapping that I have behind. In the ceiling, all I needed to do, I had all the metal framework in the ceiling marked out, so I measured, found center of the plywood, and all I did was add 3 self-tapper screws with beauty rings on them, and everything's holding in there perfect now. It just takes that little bit of pressure out, and the rest of the board is all stuck on there, no problem with the Velcro. Okay, there we go. That's what I have to be able to do, is put in my bench seat. What I'm trying to do is see if I can maximize some more room. My bed height is going to be 12 inches to the top. So that's... I don't really have a way to work that. Maybe push it. 12 inches, and that's without the mattress. The mattress is another 4 inches at least. So it's 16 inches tall. If I put it right to where I have my cutout for the leg, I'm still not touching the back of the seat. So that's enough room for my mattress and my frame and everything. So far, everything's looking good. Seat fits in. That's definitely a bonus. I want to make sure all those clamps and everything lock in, so I'm inside the holes that I made. It doesn't look horribly bad. Pleasantly happy with it. The inserts go in, the seat goes in, everything goes in. That's good. So today we're working on the cabinets, cabinet panels. And I've decided that I'm going to use pocket screws to attach them to the floor and to each other. That way I can, if I decide to change my mind later on down the road, I can just undo the screws and pop it apart, alter the cabinet, put it back in, and I don't have to worry about destroying anything. I'm using a Kreg pocket hole jig with the bit that comes with it. They also send, in the package that I bought anyways, it has a little one-shot guy, and you clamp it down. You line it up with the edge on 3/4 inch plywood. You line it up on the edge on your line, and then you clamp it down. For the extra money, I think the whole kit for a Christmas special at Home Depot, and it comes with a clamp as well, I think it was about $100 for the whole kit. If you can't find the package deal, that's okay. I'd still say spend the extra money and buy this one. This is a whole lot easier to use, and I'll show you why. Well, I'll show you the difference between the two, but this one's definitely a lot easier to use, line up, and keep square. This one moves around quite a bit. It's good for an emergency, but I tend not to use it. So just to show you what pocket screws are, let's take a look. I've already installed a couple panels. That drill and guide will make these little holes, and then you shoot the screw down through those holes. I put them on the inside or the non-visible side of the cabinets. That's what the hole will look like. And then you have these cabinet screws. These are 1.25 inches long. And these are Robertson head, but they've got a flat back side, and they don't go deeper than the made hole. Whereas your typical screw, wood screw, again 1.25 inches, it has a bugle head and it can get sucked all the way through. It'll pull itself all the way through. So you want to make sure you get the right screws. These are by Kreg. They're fairly expensive, but you can buy typical cabinet mounting screws, exactly the same thing, for I think about 1/4 of the cost. Yeah, when I bought the kit, these were available, and I bought one box of 100, and but my next trip I'll be just buying a big box of the cabinet screws. With this little guy, you're going to take it and line it up on your line. I've got my line here. Line it up flush with the edge of the plywood. Take your scrap piece of wood, put it on the good side of the plywood. Take your clamp. Make sure it stays on there. Make sure your thing's all lined up straight. Clamp it down. You don't want to clamp it too tight, but you need it tight enough that it's not going to move. I like to square it up. That's just one thing about this little guy. Then you take your Kreg bit. The other nice thing about this guy is on it, it has all the different measurements for the depth to set your bit. And what you have to do is you set the bit into the guide and line it up for the depth or the thickness of plywood that you need, and then you set this little guy with an Allen key in place, so it stops on the edge of the guide. So once you got it clamped down and all lined up square and straight, just slide the bit in. Once you hit the stop, then you keep it drilling, but pull it. Clamp. And pick up your backer piece. That's the hole it makes. I'm just using a scrap board to for demonstration purposes, but then you take your pocket screw, grab your drill, and there you go. Sucks it in nice and tight. You get a nice tight seam. You got your screw down in the hole. That's just on one little piece of plywood there. But yeah, I find it works really well. This is holding down my panel. That's going to be one side where I have my drawer slide, and yeah, I find it works really well. Now if you want a more permanent solution, you'll run a bead of glue on the grain edge of the wood, smooth it, or cover the entire edge with glue, and then attach your pocket screws, and it'll basically be permanent. You're gonna tear the plywood if you need to take it back apart. This larger jig, it's got 3 holes in it. It's 1.5 inches between A and C. 7/8 from A and B and 5/8 from B and C. So that way you can use it for different, if you're doing a toe kick per se, you're going to use these two. If you're doing a small support board, you're going to have two really close together. Just whatever layout you're trying to do. There is on the side, I don't know if it picks it up, but on the side we've got the different measurements. You need to set that for the thickness of wood that you're going into. Removing, or you take this, undo this screw and lift this plastic insert up and set it, and then you've got a lever that holds it into place on the board, and I'll show you how that works. And this is why I like this one better. You've also got a nice 3-inch wide base plate, and you can, it basically auto squares, because if you've got your plywood touching on both sides, it's square. I have my lines on here. In this corner I want 2 holes, and so also on the top you've got little raised marks for center of hole, and also those carry down onto these lines down on the base. There's little lines which indicate the center of hole. So what I've done, it's 4 1/4 from the base plate to the top of the plate for my current setting, and I just extend my line from the edge up at least 4 1/4 inches with my square. So at this point on my board I want 2 holes, and I'm going to line them up 1.5 inches apart, so I want to use holes A and C, and I'm going to line up the line on A and C for the center of the hole to my lines on there. Make sure that this side and this side is both touching the bottom edge of the plywood. That means keeping it nice and square. Lock the clamp, and then proceed to drill the holes. Undo the clamp. And I got my nice 2 clean pocket holes. Where this would be where my little screws go in, just like that. And if we drive one through, I'll show you how it looks on the other side. If you have your jig and everything set up properly, it comes out right in the center of the plywood or your board or whatever. The other nice thing is it doesn't break the plane of that wood. So if you look on my speed square, that screw wouldn't actually come through the side. So if you're screwing it, you have another piece right here and you're screwing it in, it's not going to poke out the other side. So you could have a square corner here with your other panel going up this way. So that's pocket screws. Now I just need to drill a whole bunch more. I'll get back to you after I'm done that. So I just got these in the mail. I was waiting for these. These are wood inserts for a 1/4 inch bolt. Came in 3 different lengths. They're all the same diameter. They all take a 1/4 inch bolt. But my plan with this is to, I'm going to put them in the top edge of my plywood and bolt down my bed frame. So let's see how that works. I measured out my distances on my bed frame, and I drilled a small pilot hole. And then right on the top of the box, it actually tells you what drill bits to use. I tried all of them, and I found that 25/64 for these inserts was the best. It didn't cause any splitting in the plywood or anything. I tried 3/8. I originally tried 23/64, and it split the plywood right away. Tried 3/8, and by the time I had it a centimeter down in, it was starting to split the plywood. tried 25/64 and it worked perfect, so there's no splitting. So first I measured, started a pilot hole, then I take my 25/64 make my little pilot hole, or not my pilot hole, my actual hole. I'm gonna grab one of these, stick it in here. It even comes with an Allen wrench, just like IKEA furniture. You just screw this guy right in until the head is flush with the plywood. Just like that. And there you go. Now you have a bolt hole in your plywood. Today we got the bed frame cut in half. We have it bolted down on 4 corners with those wood inserts, the 1/4 inch wood inserts that we got, threaded inserts. And we started forming up our cabinet. Let's go around the other side and take a look at the cabinet. I still have to order the drawer slides and all that, but it gives me something to work with. Cabinet. And then this is how we're going to attach, this is how I'm going to attach the second half of the bed. Is on this side, the insert needed to go right here on the end gable, so I ran the bolt right through this, and I might tack weld this in place just so it stays just like that. But what's going to happen is these are going to stick out on both sides, and then the other half of the bed is going to come in, and a bolt's going to go through side to side, so I can remove it later on. And yeah, I can't make these go in any farther because of these bolts that hold down the boards, but that 1 inch is plenty. I might just run a bolt side to side here and one through this part. Over here, that was the plan as well, but due to having to put this anchor in here, I have nowhere else to put it, because underneath here is all hollow, and that rail spans that joint. So yeah, but she's coming together.